Hi guys, welcome to another episode titled He Tried to Ruin My Life. Now he wants to marry me. Kindly leave a like and comment at the end of this, thank you. Prologue. I never meant to fall in love with Dominic Blackwell. In fact, there was a time I would have happily pushed him into oncoming traffic. The man destroyed my career with a few carefully chosen words. Made my name toxic in the only industry I'd ever loved. Left me drowning in bills and doubt while he carried on making millions. I hated him with the kind of passion usually reserved for first loves. Then one night, my phone lit up with a text that would change everything. Dinner. 8 p.m. Wear black. Dominic. I should have blocked his number. Should have told him exactly where he could shove his dinner invitation. Should have protected what was left of my dignity. Instead, I said yes. That was my first mistake. My second was agreeing to his insane proposal, pretend to be his girlfriend for 6 months to salvage his public image. A business arrangement, he called it. Complete with contracts, NDAs, and enough money to rebuild my life. No emotions, he'd insisted, dark eyes unreadable across the table. This is strictly professional. I'd signed my name with a steady hand, convinced I could fake adoration for a man I loathed. After all, I'm a PR expert. Fabricating feelings is practically in my job description. But here's what they don't tell you about pretending to be in love. Sometimes, when you're pressed against someone at a gala, whispering inside jokes while cameras flash, when you're laughing over breakfast because he can't work the coffee maker despite his 3 engineering degrees, when you're fighting in the rain and suddenly his mouth is on yours with no audience to perform for. Sometimes the lines blur. Sometimes pretending becomes real. And sometimes the man who tried to ruin your life becomes the one you can't imagine living without. My name is Ava Monroe, and this is the story of how I broke the first rule of fake relationships. Don't fall for the person you're pretending to love. Especially when that person is Dominic Blackwell, the most infuriating, complicated, beautiful mistake I've ever made. Chapter 1. Ava Monroe's heels clicked against the marble floor of Blackwell Industries as she hurried toward the conference room. Her phone buzzed for the 15th time that morning, all messages from different news outlets wanting a statement. Not now, she muttered, swiping away notifications with her thumb while balancing a coffee and portfolio in her other hand. The glass doors to the conference room loomed ahead. Through them, she could see Dominic Blackwell pacing like a caged lion, his custom suit jacket tossed aside, sleeves rolled up to reveal tanned forearms. Even angry, he looked like he belonged on a magazine cover. Which was exactly the problem. This morning's tabloids featured him on every cover, locked in an embrace with an unnamed blonde at a charity gala. The woman wasn't his date for the evening, nor his girlfriend of record. The photos looked intimate, damning, and somehow, Ava's problem to fix. She took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Finally, Dominic snapped, dark eyes flashing. How hard is it to be on time during a crisis? I was handling calls from 7 different publications, Ava replied, dropping her portfolio on the table. And it's 8:02. 8:03, he corrected, tapping his watch. Every minute costs me thousands in stock dips. The air between them crackled with tension. 6 months as his publicity manager had taught her that Dominic Blackwell was brilliantly impossible, demanding perfection, accepting nothing less, and never, ever satisfied. I've drafted a statement, she said, sliding a paper across the table. Short, dignified, neither confirms nor denies. He didn't even look at it. Useless. Everyone's seen the pictures. That's how PR works, Dominic. We can't erase photos, but we can control the narrative around. The narrative? His laugh cut like glass. The narrative is that I'm caught with a woman who isn't supposed to be there while my company is negotiating a family values partnership worth millions. Ava straightened her spine. If you'd followed my advice about bringing Rachel as your date. Rachel was boring. Rachel was safe, Ava countered. And recommended in my briefing, which you apparently used as scratch paper. His jaw tightened. I pay you to manage my image, not dictate my personal life. Your personal life is your image when you're Dominic Blackwell. The conference room door opened, and Lisa, Dominic's assistant, slipped in. Her face was pale. The Thompson deal is backing out, she whispered. Their CEO called it incompatible values. Dominic's face darkened. He turned to the window, broad shoulders rigid under his white shirt. For a moment, the room fell silent except for the muted ringing of phones beyond the door. When he turned back, his expression was cold, calculated. Who leaked those photos? He asked in a dangerously soft voice. Ava blinked. We don't know yet. My team is tracing. Your team. He cut her off. Your team that was supposed to secure the event. Your team that cleared every photographer. Your team that promised me privacy. We did everything by protocol, Ava said, heat rising in her cheeks. Sometimes these things don't happen to my competitors, Dominic interrupted. These things don't happen to CEOs with competent PR. The words landed like slaps. Ava's throat tightened, but she kept her voice steady. We can fix this. No. He shook his head. I** will fix this. He pressed a button on the conference phone. Send in Greg and the legal team. Ava frowned. Who's Greg? The door opened, and a silver-haired man in an expensive suit walked in, followed by two younger men carrying briefcases. Greg Marshall, Dominic said flatly. Your replacement. The floor seemed to tilt beneath Ava's feet. What? Effective immediately, Dominic continued, not looking at her. Legal will discuss your separation package and NDA requirements. You can't be serious, Ava whispered. But his face told her he was deadly serious. Your security clearance is already revoked, he said, turning to Greg. I want a complete strategy overhaul by end of day. Ava stood frozen, humiliation burning through her veins as the men discussed her job, her former job, as if she wasn't there. Dominic, she finally managed. 6 months of work, doubling your positive press. And one catastrophic failure that cost me millions, he replied coldly. Take it as a business lesson, Ava, results are all that matter. She gathered her portfolio with shaking hands. You'll regret this. His dark eyes met hers, unflinching. I doubt it. The walk out of the conference room felt endless. Employees averted their eyes as security escorted her to her office to collect personal items. Within an hour, she was standing on the sidewalk outside Blackwell Tower, a cardboard box in her arms and her career in tatters. By afternoon, industry contacts stopped returning her calls. By evening, her social media was flooded with speculation. By nightfall, Dominic had given an exclusive interview calling her leadership dangerously incompetent and blaming serious oversight failures for the scandal. 3 job interviews cancelled the next day. 2 clients quietly terminated their contracts. Her phone grew silent. In one day, Dominic Blackwell had made her name toxic in the only industry she'd ever loved. 3 months later, Ava was typing cover letters in her tiny apartment when her phone lit up with a text from an unmarked number. Dinner. 8 p.m. Wear black. Dominic. She stared at the screen, coffee cup frozen halfway to her lips, as fury and curiosity waged war inside her chest. Chapter 2. 24 hours later, Ava sat across from Dominic Blackwell in a private dining room at Eloise, wondering if murder charges would really be so bad. She'd spent 3 hours debating whether to come. Pride said no. Her empty bank account said yes. Curiosity tipped the scales. You look well, Dominic said, dark eyes taking in her simple black dress, the only nice one she still owned. Cut the small talk, Ava replied, leaving her menu untouched. Why am I here? Dominic sipped his whiskey, the amber liquid catching the light. In the 3 months since he'd destroyed her career, he looked better, more rested. His jawline still sharp enough to cut glass, shoulders filling his designer suit with infuriating perfection. I have a proposition, he said. Not interested. You haven't heard it yet. I don't need to. Ava leaned forward. You humiliated me professionally, blacklisted me in my industry, and now want a favor? I'd rather eat glass. A waiter appeared with wine. Dominic waved him away with practiced ease. It's not a favor, he said once they were alone. It's a job. Despite herself, Ava's pulse quickened. 3 months of rejected applications and dwindling savings had left her desperate. What job? My girlfriend. Ava choked on her water. Excuse me. Not real, obviously. His expression remained businesslike. For appearances. She stared at him, waiting for the punchline. When none came, she laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. You want me to pretend to date you? After what you did? Precisely because of what I did, Dominic replied. The scandal damaged my reputation. Sales are down. The board is nervous. And this helps how exactly? A redemption story. He leaned forward, suddenly intense. Man wrongs woman. Man realizes mistake. They reconcile. People love second chances. Ava shook her head in disbelief. You can't be serious. I'm always serious about business. Find someone else. It wouldn't work with anyone else. Dominic's voice dropped lower. The photos need explaining. The tabloids think the mystery woman was you. Ava's jaw dropped. That blonde looked nothing like me. From behind, in dim lighting. He shrugged. Speculation's already there. We just confirm it. So you want to rewrite history? Pretend you fired me to protect our secret relationship? Exactly. He looked almost impressed. 6 months. Public dates. Charity events. Weekend trips. All documented. Her mind raced with implications. And the woman in the photos? A misunderstanding. You got jealous, confronted me. I realized what mattered. He delivered the fiction smoothly, as if rehearsed. The public will eat it up. You're unbelievable. I'm practical. He slid a folder across the table. This is the contract. Against her better judgment, Ava opened it. The number on the compensation page made her breath catch. That's... She swallowed. That's obscene. That's fair market value for your time, discretion, and reputation. It was more than fair. It was life-changing, enough to clear her debts, pay rent for a year, and fund her own PR startup. Why me? She asked quietly. You could hire an actress. Something flickered across his face, so brief she almost missed it. The public knows you. Records exist of us working together. And... He paused. You're convincing when you need to be. Outside the window, rain began to fall, streaking the glass with silver lines. Ava thought of her leaking ceiling, her maxed-out credit cards, the emails from her landlord. What are the rules? She asked. Dominic's expression revealed nothing. Standard contract. Appearances, social media posts, joint interviews. No disclosure to friends or family about the arrangement. And physical requirements. The question burned her throat. Hand-holding. The occasional public kiss. His eyes met hers. Nothing behind closed doors. Ava drummed her fingers on the contract, hating him, hating herself more for considering it. What happens after 6 months? We drift apart amicably. You'll have excellent references, industry connections, and enough money to do whatever you want. Ava looked at the number again. It represented freedom. A fresh start. Revenge, even, getting paid by the man who'd tried to destroy her. I have conditions, she said. Dominic raised an eyebrow. Name them. I want it in writing that you take full responsibility for the tabloid scandal. A public statement clearing my professional reputation. Done. And I want the truth. She leaned forward. Why did you really blame me that day? His expression hardened. That's not relevant to our arrangement. It is to me. For a long moment, they stared at each other, neither willing to break. Finally, Dominic sighed. I needed a scapegoat, he admitted. The board was looking for blood. It was you or me. The honesty surprised her. Not the content, she'd suspected as much, but his willingness to say it aloud. At least you admit it, she said softly. He offered a pen. Do we have a deal? Every instinct screamed to walk away. This man had ruined her once. Giving him another chance was insanity. But the practical voice in her head, the one that counted pennies and dodged collection calls, whispered louder. Ava took the pen. The scratch of her signature felt like surrender and victory all at once. Excellent. Dominic's smile didn't reach his eyes. First appearance is the Harrison Foundation Gala. Saturday night. That's in 3 days. Then we'd better make it convincing. He raised his glass. To new beginnings. Ava didn't toast. This isn't a beginning. It's a transaction. Whatever helps you sleep at night. He took a sip. Though I should warn you, people are already watching. The cameras start now. As if on cue, a photographer passed by the window. Dominic's hand covered hers on the table, his thumb tracing small circles on her skin. Ava forced herself not to pull away, even as electricity shot up her arm. His smile turned genuine, dangerously charming. Let's make them believe it. Chapter 3. Absolutely not. Ava crossed her arms in the middle of Dominic's penthouse living room. It's a simple request, he replied, not looking up from his laptop. Moving into your guest room was not in the contract. Page 12, Section 4, Dominic said, still typing. Living arrangements at my discretion. Ava snatched the contract from her bag, flipping through it. She'd read every line before signing, or so she thought. There it was, a single sentence giving him the right to request cohabitation for appearances if necessary. This is manipulation. Dominic finally looked up, face unreadable. This is practicality. Paparazzi are watching both our places. What kind of couple lives separately when one has a penthouse? The kind that values independence, Ava countered. The kind that's faking it. He stood up, towering over her. You want this to work? Then commit. The Harrison Gala was tomorrow. 3 days since she'd signed away her life, and already the rules were changing. Fine, she conceded. But we need clear boundaries. Dominic's eyebrow rose. Such as? Separate bathrooms. No entering each other's rooms without knocking. No. She faltered. Physical contact unless cameras are present. Agreed. He nodded. And I have conditions too. Of course you do. When we're in public, you look at me like I'm the only man in the world. Heat rushed to Ava's cheeks. That wasn't in the contract. It's in the subtext. Dominic stepped closer. No pulling away when I touch you. No glaring when you think no one's watching. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. His cologne, something woodsy and expensive, made it hard to think straight. I'm not an actress, she managed. No, he agreed. You're better. You're a woman who knows how to get what she wants. The compliment caught her off guard. Before she could respond, Dominic turned away. Your room is upstairs, first door on the right. Maria unpacked your things. Ava frowned. When did you get my things? While we were having lunch. Your landlord was very understanding. You went in my apartment? My assistant did. He glanced back. Don't worry, your plants are here too. The casual invasion of privacy made her head spin. This was Dominic Blackwell's world. Everything arranged to his liking, everyone jumping at his command. Including her, apparently. One more thing, she said as he turned to leave. No real kissing. Dominic paused. Define real. You know what I mean. His dark eyes met hers, something unreadable shifting in their depths. Quick pecks for cameras only. Nothing, lingering. Exactly. Anything else? There was an edge to his voice now. Ava swallowed. No falling asleep together. No. Sharing beds. I don't think that will be a problem. His tone was suddenly ice. This is business, Ms. Monroe. Don't flatter yourself. She watched him walk away, torn between relief and, absurdly, disappointment. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. You did what? Maya gasped over FaceTime that evening. Ava lowered her voice, glancing at her bedroom door. It's complicated. It's insane. Her best friend's face filled the phone screen. He destroyed your career, and now you're dating him? Not really dating, Ava hedged. The NDA prevented her from telling the whole truth. It's a second chance. For him or you. Both, maybe. Maya's eyes narrowed. 3 months ago you called him Satan in a Savile Row suit. People change. Billionaires don't. On screen, Maya looked genuinely worried. They'd been friends since college, roommates until Ava's PR career took off. Trust me, Ava said softly. I know what I'm doing. Do you? Maya challenged. Because from here, it looks like Stockholm Syndrome. A knock at the door made Ava jump. Gotta go. Ava. I'll call tomorrow. Love you. She ended the call as Dominic entered, carrying a garment bag. For tomorrow, he said, laying it on her bed. Stella McCartney. Your size. Ava eyed the bag. I have dresses. Not like this. He unzipped it, revealing a deep emerald gown that probably cost more than her old apartment's rent. We need to match. Match. My tie. He gestured vaguely. It's a couple thing. Ava ran her fingers over the silk. It was undeniably beautiful. Thank you, she said stiffly. Dominic lingered by the door. Who were you talking to? Maya. What did you tell her? What I'm allowed to tell her. Ava met his gaze. That we're giving things a chance. His shoulders relaxed slightly. Good. An awkward silence stretched between them. Well, Ava said finally. Good night. One more thing. Dominic pulled out his phone. We need a picture. Now? I'm in pajamas. Exactly. His voice softened. Authentic. Like we're just hanging out. Before she could protest, he sat beside her on the bed, close enough that his arm pressed against hers. He held up the phone. Smile, he instructed. Ava tried, but it felt forced. Relax. His free hand touched her shoulder. Pretend you don't hate me. I don't hate you, she said automatically. Dominic turned, surprise flickering across his features. Their faces were inches apart. No. Ava's heart hammered. I just strongly dislike you. His mouth twitched, almost a smile, and he snapped the photo. Better, he said, checking it. Almost believable. Let me see. He showed her the screen. They looked good together. His dark hair and sharp jawline contrasted with her softer features. Her auburn waves tumbled over his shoulder where she'd unconsciously leaned in. Most disturbing was her expression, relaxed, almost happy. Send me a copy, she heard herself say. Dominic nodded. I'll post it tonight. Caption suggestions. Quiet night in. Too bland. Movie night with the boyfriend? He winced. I'm not 16. Ava rolled her eyes. You pick then. Dominic studied the photo again. Sometimes the best things start with second chances. The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. That's actually good. Don't sound so surprised, Ava. He stood, suddenly businesslike again. Car leaves at 7 tomorrow. The press will be waiting. At the door, he paused. One last thing, your friends. Limit contact until they accept our relationship. Excuse me. Maya's reaction. I heard it from here. His expression hardened. They'll ask questions you can't answer. You can't isolate me from my friends. I'm protecting our arrangement. He checked his watch. Gym in 20 minutes if you want to join. Hard pass. After he left, Ava buried her face in her hands. What had she gotten herself into? 6 months suddenly felt like eternity. Her phone buzzed, the photo, already posted to Dominic's millions of followers. Comments poured in. Wait, is that Ava Monroe? Didn't he fire her? OMG, they look so cute. plot twist of the year. And there was his caption, just as he'd said, sometimes the best things start with second chances. Beneath it, he'd added a heart emoji. Simple, effective, completely calculated. Ava switched off her phone and stared at the ceiling. She could do this. 6 months of pretending, then freedom, financial and professional. Just 6 months of ignoring how his hand felt on her shoulder. 6 months of fighting the electricity when he looked at her. 6 months of remembering that for Dominic Blackwell everything, including her, was just business. Chapter 4. Perfect. Just one more with your hand on his chest, Ava. The photographer's voice carried across the beach as sunset painted the sky in pinks and oranges. 3 weeks into their arrangement, and Ava was getting uncomfortably good at this. She placed her palm against Dominic's chest, feeling his heartbeat through the thin linen shirt. His arm tightened around her waist in response. Now look at each other like you're in love, the photographer called. Dominic's eyes met hers, dark, intense, unreadable. He'd mastered the art of looking besotted for cameras while remaining completely detached. Ava tilted her head, softening her expression. The contract was working perfectly. Tabloids had embraced their rekindled romance narrative. Dominic's company stock was climbing. And if sometimes, like now, the line between pretending and feeling blurred dangerously, well, that was her problem to manage. Beautiful. The photographer lowered her camera. That's a wrap. The feature will run next week. The beach house behind them, a luxury villa on a private island, would be their home for the next 3 days. A romantic getaway for the cameras, followed by a tech conference where Dominic would speak. You're getting better at this, Dominic said as they walked back to the house, hands still linked for the benefit of the distant photography drone. I'm a quick study, Ava replied. Inside, away from watching eyes, they separated like magnets with reversed poles. Ava kicked off her sandals while Dominic checked his phone, already back to business mode. The weather report changed, he said, frowning. Storm moving in tonight. Ava glanced out the window at the cloudless sky. Looks fine to me. Caribbean storms move fast. The helicopter can't fly in those conditions. So we're staying an extra night. He slipped his phone into his pocket. I'll have Lisa reschedule tomorrow's meetings. Ava's stomach fluttered. An unplanned night. No cameras, no audience. Just them in this isolated villa with its single master suite and decorative second bedroom. I'll make dinner, she said, needing distance. In the kitchen, she lost herself in the rhythm of chopping vegetables, the normality of cooking. The past 3 weeks had been a blur of galas, interviews, and staged outings, performing their relationship for an audience that grew more convinced with each appearance. Dominic's business partners had stopped doubting him. Her old industry contacts had started calling again. The plan was working. Outside, the sky darkened rapidly as clouds rolled in from the horizon. By the time she finished cooking, wind howled around the villa and rain lashed against windows. Smells good, Dominic said, appearing in the doorway. They ate in relative silence, the storm providing ambient noise where conversation should have been. Afterward, she washed dishes while he answered emails on his laptop. Almost domestic, if not for the tension crackling between them. When lightning knocked out the power an hour later, Ava found herself sitting across from Dominic in the living room, emergency candles casting strange shadows on the walls. We could play a game, she suggested, the silence becoming unbearable. Dominic raised an eyebrow. What kind of game? I don't know. 20 questions. Childish. Truth or dare? His mouth quirked. Even more childish. Fine. Ava crossed her arms. What do adults do during power outages? His eyes caught the candlelight. You don't want me to answer that. Heat rushed to her face. We could just talk, she said quickly. About anything. Why you became such a ruthless businessman. Your childhood traumas. Your secret love of puppy videos. That earned her almost a smile. I don't watch puppy videos. Everyone watches puppy videos. I don't have time for puppies. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Ava leaned back against the couch. What do you do for fun then? Besides ruin careers and manipulate the stock market. Lightning flashed, illuminating his face, unexpectedly open, almost wounded. Is that what you think of me? The question hung in the air between them. Ava considered lying, then remembered they were alone. No audience. No reason to pretend. Yes, she admitted. Or at least I did. And now. Now. She hesitated. Now I don't know what to think. Thunder rumbled as Dominic got up to pour himself a drink. He offered her one, which she accepted. The whiskey burned pleasantly down her throat. Why did you agree to this arrangement? He asked suddenly. Besides the money. Ava traced the rim of her glass. Revenge, maybe. Making you pay for what you did. Fair enough. And you? Why me specifically? There must have been other options. Dominic stared into his drink. You were the only one the board would believe. The only one who made sense. Because of the blonde in the photos? Because of how I talked about you. Ava frowned. What do you mean? He took a long sip before answering. I mentioned you often. Before. To complain about my incompetence? Sometimes. His eyes met hers over the rim of his glass. Sometimes not. The implication hung in the air. Ava's heart raced as she processed what he wasn't saying. You never trusted me, she said quietly. Even before the scandal. I don't trust anyone. That must be lonely. Dominic laughed. A harsh, hollow sound. Says the woman who keeps everyone at arm's length. I do not. You do. He set down his glass. 3 weeks living together, and I know nothing about you beyond your work habits and coffee preference. That's by design, Ava shot back. This isn't real, remember? And if it were? The question lingered between them. Outside, the storm raged, trapping them in this moment, this conversation. If it were, she said slowly, I'd still be furious at how easily you threw me away. If it were real, he countered, I would have explained why. Then explain now. Dominic's jaw tightened. For a moment, she thought he would refuse. Then. The photos weren't random, he said. Someone on my board arranged it. They wanted leverage to force me out. And you thought I was involved? No. His eyes met hers, dark and sincere. That's why I had to blame you publicly. If they knew I suspected them. Understanding dawned. You sacrificed my reputation to protect your position. To protect the company, he corrected. Thousands of jobs. Years of work. At my expense. Yes. No excuse. No apology. Just truth. Ava's anger, 3 months of it, carefully preserved, began to crack. Not disappear, but fracture enough to let other feelings through. You could have told me, she whispered. I couldn't risk it. Dominic moved closer, candlelight dancing across his features. But I've regretted it every day since. The air between them changed, charged with something dangerous. Confession had stripped away their careful performances, leaving raw honesty in its wake. You know what I hate most? Ava said, her voice barely audible over the storm. What? I never really hated you. The truth spilled out before she could stop it. I hated that even after everything, I still wanted you. His eyes darkened. Time seemed suspended as they stared at each other, the pretense of the past weeks falling away. Then Dominic leaned forward, slowly, deliberately, and pressed his lips to hers. No cameras. No audience. No reason except want. Ava froze for half a heartbeat, then melted into the kiss, her hands finding his shoulders as his cupped her face. The contact was electric, igniting something that had been smoldering since their first meeting. When they broke apart, both breathing heavily, reality crashed back. That wasn't in the contract, she whispered. Dominic's expression was unguarded for once. Vulnerable, almost shocked. No, he agreed. It wasn't. Neither moved away. Outside, the storm still raged, sealing them in their private world for a few hours more. But in that moment, with the taste of him still on her lips, Ava knew their carefully constructed arrangement had just become infinitely more complicated. Chapter 5. The kiss didn't exist. That's what Ava told herself as she applied mascara in the bathroom mirror. 4 days had passed since the storm. 4 days of carefully orchestrated normalcy. Neither of them had mentioned it. When the helicopter arrived the morning after, Dominic had been on his phone, all business. At the conference, they played their roles perfectly. Loving glances, casual touches, his hand proprietarily at her lower back. All fake. All for show. Except for that night, which they'd silently agreed never happened. Her reflection frowned back at her. Tonight was the tech industry's biggest gala of the year, where Dominic would receive an innovation award. Every major player would be watching, which meant their performance needed to be flawless. A knock at the bathroom door startled her. "Car's here," Dominic called. 5 minutes, she answered, voice steady despite her jumping pulse. In the bedroom, she slipped into a midnight blue gown that hugged her curves before flowing to the floor. Dominic had chosen it, like all her public outfits. His taste impeccable, as always. When she emerged, he stood by the window, silhouetted against city lights. He turned, and something flashed across his face before his expression settled into appreciation. "You look." He paused. "Perfect." The compliment felt different from his usual assessments. She pushed the thought away. "The dress is nice," she deflected. "It's not the dress." His eyes lingered a moment too long before he checked his watch. "We should go." In the car, Dominic briefed her on key industry figures who would be present, who to charm, who to avoid, which journalists had been particularly supportive of their relationship narrative. Ava nodded along, grateful for the distraction of work. It was easier this way. Keeping distance. Staying professional. The venue glittered with lights as they arrived, cameras flashing as Dominic helped her from the car. His hand rested possessively on her back, warm through the thin fabric of her dress. "Smile," he murmured, lips close to her ear. "Like you want me." Ava turned toward him, pasting on her practiced, adoring look. "Always so demanding," she whispered through her smile. His eyes darkened momentarily before they moved toward the entrance, waving to photographers. Inside, the ballroom was a sea of designer wear and industry power. Dominic moved through the crowd with practiced ease, Ava at his side playing the devoted girlfriend. She laughed at the right moments, touched his arm when appropriate, beamed with pride when others congratulated him. After an hour, she excused herself to the bar while Dominic spoke with investors. The performance was exhausting, especially with the memory of their real kiss haunting her thoughts. "Champagne, please," she told the bartender. "Make that too." The voice beside her belonged to James Chun, a rising tech entrepreneur whose sleek app had recently made waves. Ava recognized him from industry events before her career implosion. "James," she nodded. "Congratulations on your success." "Likewise." His eyes flicked meaningfully toward Dominic across the room. "Quite the comeback story." "I suppose it is. I always thought he was an idiot for letting you go." James leaned closer, charm radiating from his smile. "Professionally, I mean." Something about his attention felt good after days of Dominic's studied indifference. She found herself smiling back. "That's kind of you to say." "Not kind. True." He handed her a champagne flute. "Your campaign for Rivera Tech last year was brilliant." "You remember that?" "I remember everything about talented people." Their conversation flowed easily. Shop talk mixed with genuine laughter. For the first time in weeks, Ava felt like herself again, not someone's carefully curated plus one. She didn't notice Dominic approaching until his arm slid around her waist, grip firmer than necessary. "James," he nodded, voice cool. "I see you've met my girlfriend." "Reconnected, actually," James replied easily. "We were just discussing PR strategies." "Were you?" Not a question. Ava felt tension radiating from Dominic's body. James was complimenting the Rivera campaign, she explained. "Fascinating." Dominic's smile didn't reach his eyes. "We should circulate before dinner." "Don't let me keep you," James said, gaze lingering on Ava. Though I'd love to continue our conversation later. I'm afraid she's booked for the evening, Dominic replied before Ava could speak. And the foreseeable future. He guided her away with a hand that felt more like a vice. What was that? Ava hissed once they were out of earshot. What was what? That caveman routine. Dominic's jaw tightened. He was flirting with you. He was being friendly. I know men like Chun. His voice was low, dangerous. They see what they want and take it. I'm not something to be taken. No, Dominic agreed, eyes burning into hers. You're mine. The possessiveness in his voice made her pulse race, with anger or something else, she couldn't tell. For show, she reminded him quietly. Just for show. Something flickered across his face. Right. The rest of the evening passed in brittle pleasantries. Dominic gave his acceptance speech with charm and grace, thanking Ava as the woman who challenges me to be better, while she smiled from their table. When they finally returned to the penthouse past midnight, tension crackled between them. You were out of line, Ava said as soon as the door closed. Dominic loosened his tie with sharp movements. I was playing the part. Jealous boyfriend wasn't in the script. Flirting with other men wasn't either. I wasn't. Ava stopped, frustrated. This is pointless. It's not real, remember? You don't get to actually be jealous. Dominic stepped closer, his height suddenly intimidating. And you don't get to use our arrangement to shop for my replacement. Replacement? She laughed incredulously. You can't replace what you never had. The words hung between them. For a moment, hurt flashed across his features before his expression hardened. What happened in the villa, he said quietly. It was a mistake. Though she'd been thinking the same thing for days, hearing him say it stung unexpectedly. Clearly, she agreed, voice tight. We should stick to the contract. He turned away. Appearances only. Fine by me. Good. Great. They stood there, two stubborn forces refusing to yield. Finally, Ava shook her head. I need space from this. From you. Dominic stiffened. Meaning? Meaning I'm moving back to my apartment for a few days. That wasn't. It's not in the contract, I know. She met his gaze steadily. But neither was kissing me when there were no cameras. So let's call it even. She expected him to argue. Instead, he nodded stiffly. Take the car, he said. I'll have your things sent over tomorrow. Disappointment hit her, that he'd agreed so easily, that he hadn't fought for her to stay. Ridiculous, when leaving was what she wanted. I'll still appear at the charity lunch on Thursday, she assured him. The contract stands. Of course. His voice was suddenly weary. It's always been about the contract. Something in his tone made her pause at the door, looking back. He stood framed against the city lights, powerful and suddenly strangely alone. For a wild moment, she considered staying. Asking about the kiss, about what he'd really meant by "you're mine." Instead, she said, "Good night, Dominic," and closed the door behind her. In the elevator down, she leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. This arrangement was supposed to be clean, professional. A transaction. Instead, she was running away from feelings she couldn't afford, for a man who'd once destroyed her and who still had the power to do it again. The worst part wasn't that they'd kissed. The worst part was that, no matter how much distance she put between them, she couldn't stop wanting to do it again. Chapter 6. 3 days in her old apartment, now paid off with Dominic's money, had given Ava clarity. Sort of. The problem wasn't the kiss. The problem wasn't even their argument. The problem was that somewhere between hating Dominic Blackwell and pretending to love him, she'd started to feel something real. And that was unacceptable. Rain pattered against her kitchen window as she poured coffee. She'd faithfully attended the charity lunch yesterday, performed flawlessly at his side, and left immediately after. Dominic had watched her go with an unreadable expression. Her phone buzzed. Maya calling. Ava sighed as she answered. Coffee date still on? Maya asked immediately. I need all the details about Mr. Rich and Broody. Ava sighed. She'd kept her friends at arm's length as the fake relationship progressed. Maybe that was part of why she'd gotten confused. No outside perspective. Still on, she confirmed. Blake's coffee at 11. She needed normal. She needed someone to remind her who Dominic Blackwell really was. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. He said what? Maya's voice carried across the coffee shop. Ava winced. Keep it down. Sorry. Maya leaned forward, lowering her voice to a fierce whisper. He seriously said, "You're mine," like some romance novel alpha male? It wasn't quite like that. Though it was exactly like that. And then you left? Girl. Maya shook her head. I've never seen you run from a fight. I'm not running. Ava stirred her latte aggressively. I'm being professional. Professional. Maya raised an eyebrow. Is that what we're calling it? What else would it be? Self-preservation. Maya's expression softened. You're falling for him. The words landed like a blow. Ava opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it. It's complicated, she finally said. That man fired you in front of everyone. He blacklisted you in your industry. I know. He only brought you back because you're useful to him. I know. Do you? Maya reached across the table, squeezing her hand. Because from where I sit, you're making the same mistake every smart woman makes with powerful men, thinking you can change him. Ava pulled her hand away. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Before she could answer, her phone lit up with Dominic's name. We need to talk, his deep voice said when she answered. Car's coming for you in 10 minutes. She frowned at the abruptness. Him? Maya asked when she hung up. Yeah, Ava confirmed. Charming as always. Maya's expression darkened. You don't have to go running every time he summons you. It's work, Ava replied, already gathering her things. And I signed a contract. Contracts can be broken. Not this one. She stood, dropping cash on the table. Rain check. Maya's disapproval was palpable. Just be careful. I've never seen you like this over a guy. Like what? Conflicted. Maya's eyes were concerned. You've always known exactly what you want. Ava forced a smile. I still do. A successful career comeback and financial stability. But as she walked through the drizzle to the sleek car idling at the curb, her certainty felt paper-thin. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Dominic wasn't at the penthouse when she arrived. Instead, she found him at his private gym on the top floor, furiously attacking a punching bag. Sweat darkened his t-shirt, muscles rippling with each powerful strike. He didn't acknowledge her entrance, though the security panel would have announced her. Ava watched from the doorway, momentarily transfixed. Stripped of his suits and boardroom manner, Dominic was raw power, dangerous in an entirely different way. If this is a demonstration to intimidate me, she finally said, it's a bit obvious. Dominic stopped, breathing hard. If I wanted to intimidate you, I'd use lawyers. Why am I here, Dominic? He reached for a towel, wiping his face. Tabloid problem. Another one? Different kind. He pulled out his phone, showing her a gossip site. They're saying you've moved out. That we're over. The headline blared, asterisk trouble in paradise? Ava Monroe spotted at old apartment asterisk. Ava scanned the article. Someone had photographed her entering her building repeatedly over the past 3 days. So? She shrugged. I told you I needed space. Space jeopardizes everything we've built. Everything you've built, she corrected. Your reputation recovery. Your stock price. Dominic's jaw tightened. Our arrangement benefits both of us. Then think of this as method acting. She crossed her arms. Couples fight. They don't move out after 6 weeks. Some do. He stepped closer, still radiating heat from his workout. Move back in. That's not a request, she observed. I need you here. For appearances. Something flickered in his eyes. Yes. The single word held a lie, but she couldn't pinpoint what it was. I'll release a statement, she offered instead. Say I'm renovating my place while staying primarily with you. That should fix the optics. And you'll return. I don't think that's best. Why not? His question was sharp, almost hurt. Ava hesitated. The truth was too raw, too revealing. But Dominic was watching her with an intensity that made evasion impossible. Because, she said finally, this is getting too real. For me. The admission hung between them. Dominic's expression shifted, surprise, then something softer before his face closed again. It's always been real, he said quietly. What does that mean? He turned away, reaching for a water bottle. Nothing. Forget it. No. Ava moved to face him, suddenly angry. You don't get to throw cryptic statements and then shut down. What do you mean, it's always been real? This isn't productive. Answer me, Dominic. His eyes met hers, dark with something that made her breath catch. I had options for this arrangement. A dozen women who would have played the part convincingly. So I chose you. His voice lowered. I've always chosen you. Ava's heart hammered. Because I was convenient for your story. Because I wanted you back in my life. The confession seemed torn from him. The scandal blaming you was the biggest mistake I've made. She stared at him, searching for the manipulation, the angle. You ruined my career. And I've regretted it every day since. He stepped closer. Why do you think the compensation was so high? Why the reputation restoration clause? Business, she said automatically. Good PR. Guilt, he corrected. And something else I couldn't admit. The air between them grew charged. Ava fought to keep her voice steady. Which was? Instead of answering, Dominic moved to the window overlooking the city. Rain streaked the glass, distorting the view. When we met, he said finally, I thought you were like everyone else, there for what you could get from me. My money. My connections. I was doing my job. I know that now. He turned to face her. But I've spent my life surrounded by people who only want what I can give them. You challenged me. Pushed back when I was unreasonable. Most people call that basic professionalism. I call it honesty. His gaze was direct, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Ava struggled to hold onto her anger, her justifiable distrust. But his words were eroding her defenses. That doesn't explain why you fired me. Dominic's expression darkened. The board meeting that day, before the scandal broke, they showed me evidence, fabricated, that you were selling company secrets. What? The accusation hit like cold water. That's absurd. I know that now. Shame crossed his features. But in that moment. You believed it, she finished, fresh hurt blooming. You actually thought I'd betray you. I've spent my life waiting for betrayal, Ava. His voice was raw. When it seemed to come from the one person he stopped abruptly. The one person you what? Their eyes locked. The unfinished sentence hung between them. The one person I trusted, he finished, but she sensed it wasn't what he'd meant to say. Rain pelted the windows harder now, the room darkening with the storm. Ava felt unmoored, her carefully constructed anger dissolving. So when the real scandal hit, she said slowly, you already thought I was disloyal. It made a convenient excuse. His honesty was brutal. I could blame you publicly without revealing the board's manipulation. By the time I discovered the truth, that they'd fabricated everything to drive a wedge between us, it was too late. It's been 3 months, Dominic. Hurt sharpened her voice. You could have told me. Would you have believed me? He stepped closer. Would you have forgiven me? The question silenced her. Would she have? Or would she have seen it as another manipulation? I don't know, she admitted. I didn't either. His voice softened. But then I saw a chance to bring you back into my life. To make amends. With a fake relationship. With truth, eventually. He ran a hand through his hair. I never expected. Expected what? She pressed. To feel this way. His eyes held hers. I arranged this to fix the past. Not to want a future. The confession hung between them, terrifying in its implications. This is business, she whispered, but the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. Is it? Dominic stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth. Then terminate the contract. Walk away right now. She should. Every instinct for self-preservation screamed to leave. I can't, she admitted instead. Why not? Because. She swallowed hard. Because somewhere between hating you and pretending to love you, I forgot which was real. His expression softened with something like hope. Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, Dominic reached for her hand. Then stop pretending, he whispered. His fingers laced with hers, warm and solid. For a dangerous moment, Ava let herself imagine it. Something real with Dominic Blackwell. Then reality crashed back. He'd betrayed her once. Believed the worst without evidence. What would stop him from doing it again? She pulled her hand away. I can't do this. Ava. No. She stepped back. I'll issue the statement about renovations. I'll keep up appearances in public. But this, us, it stops being anything but business. Hurt flashed across his face before his expression shuttered. If that's what you want. It's what I need. She headed for the door, then paused. The contract runs 3 more months. Let's just finish it and go our separate ways. She didn't wait for his response. In the elevator down, she pressed her forehead against the cool metal wall and closed her eyes. The real problem wasn't the kiss, or their fight, or even their complicated history. The real problem was that, despite everything, she was falling in love with the man who'd broken her once, and could so easily do it again. Chapter 7. 2 weeks of perfect professionalism followed. Ava attended events on Dominic's arm, smiled for cameras, and returned to her apartment each night. They were the picture of romance in public. His hand at her waist, her laugh at his jokes, casual touches that looked loving to observers. Behind closed doors, they barely spoke beyond necessary coordination. Is this what you really want? Maya had asked over lunch yesterday, eyeing the massive flower arrangement Dominic had sent to their table. Ava had just shrugged. The flowers, like the jewelry, designer clothes, and other lavish gifts that appeared regularly, felt like obligations rather than romance. Public displays of affection from a man who'd gone cold in private. Now she stared at the latest delivery, an invitation nestled in white roses. Inside, elegant calligraphy announced a charity gala Dominic was hosting. Asterisk, wear the diamond earrings. Car at 7. D asterisk. Always commands. Never questions. Her phone rang, her sister Emma calling from Seattle. Those flowers are insane, Emma said when Ava answered. I just saw your Instagram. PR, Ava replied, sinking onto her couch. Image maintenance. Emma's tone was skeptical. And the Cartier bracelet last week? Same thing. And the Aspen trip? Scheduled photo opportunity. Ava sighed. It's all business, Em. That's what worries me, her sister said softly. You post these perfect pictures, but your voice sounds hollow. Ava closed her eyes. Emma had always read her too well, even from across the country. It's fine, she lied. 3 months left, then I'm free. Free to what? Go back to hating him. The question hit too close to home. Ava changed the subject, asking about Emma's kids, her husband, anything but her own complicated feelings. After they hung up, she stood at the window watching evening settle over the city. Her career was back on track. Interview requests, consulting offers, even a potential partnership at a top firm. The contract was working exactly as planned. So why did success feel so empty? Her doorbell rang at precisely 7. Rather than Dominic's usual driver, she found Dominic himself in the hallway, holding a small blue box. "You're my escort now?" she asked, surprised. He looked good, too good, in a tailored tuxedo that emphasized his broad shoulders. His dark hair was slightly tousled, as if he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. "I wanted to give you this personally." He held out the box. Ava didn't take it. "I have plenty of jewelry." "It's not jewelry." Curiosity won. She opened the box to find a key card nestled in velvet. "What's this for?" "Your office." Dominic's expression was carefully neutral. "At Monroe Public Relations." She stared at him. "What are you talking about?" "I purchased the Harrington building on 5th Avenue. Top floor is yours, fully equipped. Staff starts Monday if you want them." The casual display of wealth and power, buying an entire building, staffing an office she hadn't asked for, left her momentarily speechless. "You can't just decide my career for me," she finally managed. "I'm not." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. "It's yours regardless of us. No strings." "No strings," she repeated flatly. "Just a multi-million-dollar building with my name on it." "Do you like the name?" He seemed genuinely concerned. "We could change it." Ava laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. "That's what you think this is about? The name?" "I'm trying to make things right." "By throwing money at me?" His jaw tightened. "By giving you back what I took." "My career wasn't a thing, Dominic. It was my work. My reputation. My relationships in the industry." She pushed the box back at him. "You can't buy those." "I know, but—" "No, you don't know." Frustration bubbled over. "That's the problem. You think enough money solves everything." "Not everything," he said quietly. "But it's what I have to offer." The raw honesty in his voice stopped her. For a moment, she glimpsed the vulnerability behind the billionaire facade, a man whose only language of care was provision. "I don't want your money," she said, gentler now. "Or buildings. Or jewelry." "What do you want, then?" The question seemed to cost him. "You," she almost said. "The real you, not the performance." Instead, she reached for her wrap. "We'll be late for the gala." In the car, silence stretched between them. Dominic stared out the window, profile sharp against passing city lights. He looked tired, Ava realized, faint shadows under his eyes, tension in his shoulders. "How's the Jensen acquisition?" she asked, offering an olive branch. "Complicated." He didn't elaborate. "The gala tonight, which charity?" "Children's Cancer Research." "That's good." Dominic turned to look at her, something sad in his eyes. "Is this what we've become? Small talk?" Before she could answer, the car stopped at the venue. Camera flashes immediately lit up the night as attendees recognized the sleek vehicle. "Ready?" he asked, mask of confidence sliding back into place. Ava nodded, preparing her own performance. The door opened, and they stepped into the spotlight, perfect smiles fixed in place. Inside, the ballroom glittered with wealth and influence. Everyone who mattered in New York society had come to support Dominic Blackwell's latest charitable endeavor, and to witness his relationship with the woman he'd once publicly dismissed. "You're good at this," he murmured as they circulated, greeting guests with practiced charm. "It's my job," she reminded him. "Was," he corrected softly. "Could be again, if you'd take the offer." Before she could respond, the event coordinator whisked him away for his host's speech. Ava sipped champagne at their table, watching him command the room from the podium. Whatever else Dominic was, his charisma was undeniable. "You must be very proud," an older woman said, taking the seat beside her. Ava smiled politely. "He's a natural speaker." "I meant about the building," the woman replied. "Such a romantic gesture." Ava's smile froze. "Excuse me." "The Harrington. Everyone's talking about it." The woman leaned closer. "He announced it at the board meeting yesterday as a gift for you. Said it was time he put his money where his heart is." Heat rushed to Ava's face. Embarrassment, anger, confusion all tangled together. The building wasn't just a gift. It was a public declaration. When Dominic returned to the table, she pulled him onto the dance floor, the one place they could speak privately in a crowd. "You told everyone the building was a gift for me," she demanded, keeping her smile fixed for onlookers. His hand tightened at her waist. "I mentioned it to the board. As a romantic gesture." "Is that so terrible?" "It's manipulation," she hissed through her smile. "Making it public so I can't refuse without embarrassing both of us." Dominic spun her gently, buying time before responding. "That wasn't my intention." "Then what was?" His eyes met hers, startlingly vulnerable. "To show you I'm serious." "About what?" "About you. Us." His voice dropped lower. "About making this real." The words she might have longed to hear weeks ago now felt hollow. "With a building? With everything I have?" Genuine frustration edged his voice. "Money, influence, connections, they're my tools, Ava. The only ones I know how to use. And if I don't want those things? Then tell me what you do want." His grip tightened, almost desperate. "Tell me how to fix this." The music swelled around them as other couples danced, oblivious to the quiet devastation on the dance floor. "I wanted you to fight for me," she whispered. "Not my career. Not my public image. Me. I am fighting for you." "No." She shook her head. "You're trying to buy me." Hurt flashed across his face. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" She kept her voice low, mindful of watching eyes. "When things got complicated between us, you retreated behind your money. When I said I needed space, you sent gifts instead of asking why. You thought you could solve the problem like a business deal." She sighed. "But I'm not a contract, Dominic. I'm a person." The music ended. They stood frozen while couples around them applauded. "I never meant to treat you like a transaction," he said finally. "I know." And she did know. That was the tragedy. He wasn't being deliberately obtuse. He simply didn't know another way. A photographer approached, asking for a picture. They posed automatically, professional smiles in place as the flash captured their performance. For the remainder of the evening, they played their parts flawlessly. No one watching would have guessed the hollow ache behind their practiced affection. It was near midnight when they finally left, slipping into the back of the waiting car. "I'll take you home," Dominic said, the first words spoken since their dance. "To my apartment," she clarified. He nodded once, expression unreadable as he instructed the driver. When they arrived, he walked her to the door, the perfect gentleman, even now. "The building is still yours," he said as she searched for her keys. "No strings. No public announcement. Just a possibility when you're ready." "Dominic. You don't have to decide now." He stepped back. "Think about it." Ava watched conflict play across his features. A man accustomed to solving problems with resources, facing one he couldn't buy his way out of. "Throwing money at me won't make me love you," she said softly. Instead of denial, his face registered something like acceptance. "I know." "Then why keep trying?" "Because I don't know how else to show you." His voice was raw with honesty. "Money is the easy part. The rest doesn't come naturally to me." "The rest?" "Vulnerability. Trust." He swallowed visibly. "The things you deserve." The admission hung between them, surprisingly painful in its truth. "Good night, Dominic," she said finally, unable to bear more tonight. He nodded once, turned to leave, then stopped. "For what it's worth," he said without looking back, "I never meant to fall in love with you either." The words hit like a physical blow. By the time she recovered enough to respond, he was already walking away, a solitary figure disappearing into the darkness. Ava leaned against her closed door, eyes burning with unshed tears. The grand gesture had failed spectacularly, yet somehow left her more confused than ever. Because despite everything, despite her justified anger and careful distance, a stubborn voice in her heart whispered that maybe, just maybe, Dominic Blackwell really did love her. And maybe against all reason, she loved him too. Chapter 8. 3 weeks passed with minimal contact. Ava attended the necessary public events at Dominic's side, but their interactions had become purely professional, coordinated through his assistant rather than directly. For the first time since their arrangement began, Dominic respected her need for space. No surprise gifts. No unannounced visits. No attempts to discuss what had happened between them. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it felt like loss. The Robertson account is signed, Maya announced, dropping a folder on Ava's desk. That makes 3 new clients this month. Ava looked up from her laptop, momentarily disoriented. She'd been staring at the same paragraph for 20 minutes, mind elsewhere. That's great, she said, forcing enthusiasm. Your pitch worked. Our pitch, Maya corrected, perching on the edge of the desk. This is your company, boss. The office around them was small but stylish, a rented suite in a downtown building with just enough room for Ava, Maya, and their new assistant. No Harrington building. No Dominic Blackwell influence. Her own venture, started with the money from their arrangement. Monroe Public Relations, launched 2 weeks ago to surprising success. I still can't believe how quickly we're growing, Ava said, genuinely pleased despite her distraction. People remember your work, Maya replied. The fake relationship with Dominic didn't hurt either. Talk about high-profile advertising. Ava's smile faltered. Right. Maya's expression softened. You still haven't told me what happened between you two. Nothing happened. The lie came automatically now. We're fulfilling the contract. That's all. Maya clearly didn't believe her. That's why you check your phone every 5 minutes and look like someone kicked your puppy whenever his name comes up. I do not. You do. Maya's voice gentled. And it's okay if things got complicated. These arrangements usually do. Ava sighed, setting down her pen. It doesn't matter now. 1 more month and it's over. And then what? And then we both move on. The words felt hollow, practiced. Clean break. Maya studied her for a long moment. Is that what you want? The question lingered as her friend left to take a client call. Ava turned to the window, watching rain streak the glass. Is that what you want? Her phone buzzed with a text from Dominic's assistant. Mr. Blackwell confirms Thursday's charity auction. Car at 7. Business attire. Business. Everything between them reduced to transactions again. The irony wasn't lost on her. She demanded professionalism, and now that she had it, she missed. What? The tension? The possibility? The man who'd looked at her in a storm-darkened room and kissed her like she was air he needed to breathe? Her desk phone rang, startling her from dangerous thoughts. Monroe Public Relations. Ms. Monroe. The voice was female, unfamiliar. My name is Sarah Winters from the Wall Street Journal. I'd like to ask about your relationship with Dominic Blackwell. Ava's grip tightened on the receiver. What about it? Sources suggest it's a publicity arrangement. Care to comment? Ice flooded Ava's veins. I don't know what you're talking about. We have information about a contract between you and Mr. Blackwell dated 3 months ago, outlining terms for a fabricated relationship. The NDA. Someone had leaked the contract. Panic clawed at her throat. No comment, she managed, then hung up. Her hands shook as she dialed Dominic's direct line. He answered on the second ring. Ava. His voice was careful, neutral. This is unexpected. We have a problem, she said without preamble. The Wall Street Journal knows about the contract. A beat of silence. Are you sure? A reporter just called. Said they have information about the terms. I'll handle it. His voice shifted to the cool, controlled tone she recognized from crisis situations. Don't speak to anyone else. Dominic, if this gets out. It won't. The certainty in his voice was almost comforting. Trust me. The phrase hung between them, weighted with their complicated history. I'll see you Thursday, she said finally, and disconnected. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. 2 days later, the story hadn't broken. Whatever Dominic had done had apparently worked, for now. Ava's door buzzed Thursday evening precisely at 7. She'd chosen a simple black dress, elegant but subdued. Professional, like their relationship now. The driver held the car door, but instead of the empty back seat she expected, Dominic was waiting inside. "This is a surprise," she said, sliding in beside him. He looked tired, subtle shadows beneath his eyes, a tightness to his mouth. But still devastatingly handsome in a charcoal suit that emphasized his broad shoulders. "I thought we should talk before the event," he said as the car pulled away. "About the journal. You handled it? For now." His face was grim. Money can buy temporary silence, but not permanently. Ava's stomach tightened. "So, eventually it may come out." He met her eyes directly. "We need to prepare for that possibility." "Our careers," she whispered. "If people know it was fake." "My reputation can withstand it," he interrupted. "I'm more concerned about yours." The consideration surprised her. "Why?" "Your new company." His voice softened fractionally. "I've been following your progress. 3 major clients already. Impressive. You've been checking up on me?" "Professional interest," he said, but something in his eyes suggested otherwise. Silence settled between them, less strained than before, but still cautious. Outside, rain began to fall, droplets racing down the tinted windows. "I have a proposal," Dominic said finally. "About the contract." Ava tensed. "What kind of proposal?" "We end it." The words hit with unexpected force. "Now? With a month left. A clean break." He echoed her own thoughts from days earlier. "We issue a statement about amicable separation. Our professional relationship remains intact for appearances, but the romantic element ends." It was the logical solution. The safe one. Why then, did it feel like the floor was falling away beneath her? "I see," she managed. "And the remainder of the payment?" "Yours, of course." He glanced out the window. "Consider it severance." "Severance," she repeated flatly. "Like a business arrangement." His jaw tightened. "Isn't that what you wanted? Professionalism." "Yes, but what?" For the first time, a flash of the old intensity broke through his careful composure. "You made yourself clear, Ava. You wanted distance. Business only." "I know what I said." "Then why are you upset?" "I'm not upset." But her voice betrayed her. Dominic's eyes narrowed slightly, reading her too well. "You are." "Why?" "Because ending it made it real. Because despite everything, the deception, the contracts, the careful boundaries, some foolish part of her had begun to hope." "It doesn't matter," she said instead. "You're right. A clean break makes sense." His expression shuttered again. "I'll have legal draw up the paperwork." "Fine. Fine." They rode in silence until the car stopped outside the venue. Before they exited, Dominic turned to her. "One last public appearance," he said quietly. "Let's make it convincing." For some reason, his words stung more than they should have. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The charity auction passed in a blur of forced smiles and mechanical small talk. Ava played her part flawlessly, the adoring girlfriend, the supportive partner. If anyone noticed the strain, they didn't comment. Dominic was equally professional, his hand at her waist, his smile practiced. Only someone who knew him well would see the tension in his shoulders, the careful distance in his eyes. "You two are such a lovely couple," a society matron gushed over champagne. "When are we hearing wedding bells?" Ava's smile froze. Beside her, Dominic stiffened almost imperceptibly. "We're taking things slowly," he answered smoothly. "At our age." The woman laughed. "Darling, why wait when it's right?" "When it's right." The phrase echoed mockingly as Ava excused herself to the restroom. In the elegant powder room, she stared at her reflection. Perfect makeup, practiced smile, hollow eyes. 3 months of pretending had worn a groove in her soul, until the line between performance and reality had blurred beyond recognition. She splashed cold water on her wrists, trying to ground herself. 1 more hour. 1 more performance. Then it would be over. When she returned, Dominic was bidding on an art piece, a modernist painting in blues and grays. The price climbed rapidly as he competed with another buyer, finally winning at an astronomical sum. "Congratulations," she said when he rejoined her. "New office decor?" "No." He didn't quite meet her eyes. "It reminded me of someone." Before she could ask what he meant, his assistant approached with an urgent message. Dominic excused himself, leaving Ava alone at their table. Minutes stretched into a half-hour. When he didn't return, she checked her phone to find a text. *emergency at the office. Car waiting outside for you. We'll speak tomorrow. D*. The abrupt dismissal stung more than it should have. Ava gathered her things and slipped out, ignoring the curious glances of other guests. The promised car took her home in silence. In her empty apartment, she kicked off her heels and poured a glass of wine, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in her chest. This was what she'd wanted all along, wasn't it? A business arrangement. Clear boundaries. No messy emotions. A knock at her door startled her. It was nearly midnight, too late for visitors. Through the peephole, she saw Maya holding takeout bags. "Emergency ice cream delivery," her friend announced when Ava opened the door. "You looked like you needed it when you left the office earlier." Ava's eyes filled with unexpected tears. "How did you know?" Best friend superpowers. Maya shuffled inside, setting down bags of comfort food. "Plus you had that look." "What look?" "The I'm about to make a life-altering decision look." Maya pulled out ice cream containers. "Spill." Over rocky road and pad thai, Ava finally told Maya everything. The real terms of the contract, the kiss during the storm, their fights, and now the early termination. "So he's just letting you go?" Maya asked when she finished. "It's mutual," Ava insisted. "The clean break we both need." "Doesn't sound mutual to me." Maya studied her. "Sounds like 2 stubborn people refusing to admit what they really want." "It doesn't matter what we want." Ava stabbed at her ice cream. The foundation was a lie. How do you build something real on that? "Maybe the foundation wasn't the contract," Maya suggested. "Maybe it was what happened after, the real feelings that snuck in despite the fakery." Ava shook her head. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple. Do you love him?" The question hung in the air, demanding an answer Ava wasn't ready to give. "It's complicated." "That's not a no." A knock at the door saved her from responding. Maya raised an eyebrow, then went to answer it. Ava heard voices in the hallway, then Maya returned with a package. Long and flat, wrapped in simple brown paper. "Delivery guy. For you." Ava opened it with a sense of dread and anticipation. Inside was the painting from the auction, its swirls of blue and gray somehow familiar. A note was attached in Dominic's unmistakable handwriting. "It reminded me of your eyes in the storm. No strings. D*. Maya peered over her shoulder. "No strings, huh?" Ava stared at the painting, emotions tangling in her chest. Not a grand gesture this time. Nothing flashy or public. Just a simple gift that said he'd been thinking of her. Of them. Of a moment when pretense had fallen away. "I think," Maya said gently, "that your clean break just got messy again." Ava touched the canvas, remembering rain against windows, thunder overhead, and the truth they'd found in darkness. "It was always messy," she whispered. Chapter 9. "Everything looks perfect," Maya said, surveying the rooftop venue. "You've officially arrived." Ava smiled, taking in the space where her company's launch party would soon begin. String lights twinkled overhead, champagne towers sparkled, and a banner proclaiming Monroe Public Relations fluttered in the evening breeze. 2 weeks since the charity auction. 2 weeks since the painting arrived. 2 weeks of silence from Dominic as lawyers finalized their contract termination. And now, her fresh start. The official launch of her company, with clients and industry insiders already on their way up. You deserve this, Maya continued, adjusting a centerpiece. Your own company. Your own name. It feels surreal, Ava admitted. And it did, success without Dominic's shadow. The past week had brought 3 new clients, a feature in a business magazine, and an invitation to speak at an industry conference. Her life was finally back on track. Independent. Successful. Complete. So why did she keep checking her phone? Why did disappointment twist in her stomach when Dominic's name wasn't among the RSVPs? He's not coming, she told herself firmly, smoothing her emerald dress, the same color as the one he'd chosen months ago, though she tried not to think about that. The first guests began arriving. Ava slipped into host mode, greeting clients, charming potential partners, laughing at the right moments. If her smile sometimes felt forced, no one seemed to notice. An hour into the event, champagne flowing and business cards exchanged, the elevator doors opened to reveal James Chun, the tech entrepreneur from the industry gala months ago. Ava Monroe, he said, approaching with a warm smile. Congratulations on the launch. James. She accepted his kiss on the cheek. I didn't know you were in town. I wouldn't miss this. He handed her a small gift box, a token for the occasion. Inside was a sleek business card holder engraved with her company logo. Thoughtful. Professional. Appropriate. Thank you, she said sincerely. It's perfect. Unlike some people, I pay attention to what matters to you. His implication was clear. I heard about you and Blackwell. I'm sorry. News of their amicable separation had hit the society pages 3 days ago. A carefully worded statement about remaining friends and business associates. Don't be, she replied. It was mutual. James raised an eyebrow. Was it? Before she could answer, Meyer appeared at her elbow. Your speech in 5 minutes, she whispered. I've set up the microphone. Ava nodded, excusing herself from James to check her notes. The speech was simple, thanking supporters, outlining her vision, introducing her team. No mention of how she'd rebuilt from the ashes of public humiliation. No acknowledgement of the man whose contract had inadvertently funded this new beginning. From the small platform, she surveyed the gathering. Familiar faces from her industry, new clients, friends who'd supported her through the darkest months. She tapped the microphone, and the crowd quieted. Thank you all for coming tonight, she began. 1 year ago, I thought my career was over. As she spoke about resilience and second chances, her eyes drifted to the elevator, some stubborn part of her still hoping. The doors remained closed. Her speech ended to genuine applause. People raised glasses, congratulated her, promised partnerships. James Chun lingered nearby, his interest obvious. She should have been elated. This was everything she'd worked for: independence, respect, a future built on her terms. Yet as the evening progressed, a hollow feeling grew in her chest. You okay? Meyer asked, finding her alone by the railing, looking out at the city lights. Fine, Ava lied. Just taking a breather. James has been asking about you. Has he? He's interested. Maya stated the obvious. Successful, attractive, and hasn't ruined your career even once. Definite upgrade. Ava smiled despite herself. Setting the bar pretty low there. I'm just saying, maybe it's time to move forward. Forward. Away from Dominic. Away from the complicated tangle of real feelings that had grown from fake beginnings. The logical choice. The safe choice. Maybe, she agreed, though the word tasted like ash. Maya squeezed her arm before returning to the party. Ava remained at the railing, city lights blurring as unexpected tears pricked her eyes. This was ridiculous. She'd gotten exactly what she wanted. Her career back, her independence, freedom from a contract that had been nothing but business. Except it hadn't been just business. Not when he'd kissed her during the storm. Not when he'd confessed his mistaken trust. Not when he'd bought her a painting because it reminded him of her eyes. The elevator dinged behind her. She wiped her eyes quickly, composing herself before turning. And froze. Dominic stood just beyond the doors, hands in his pockets, no entourage, no fanfare. In a simple dark suit with no tie, he looked different from the polished billionaire she knew, more accessible, almost vulnerable. Their eyes met across the crowded rooftop. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Dominic began making his way through the crowd, stopping occasionally as people greeted him, but his eyes never leaving hers. Ava's heart hammered against her ribs. She should move, join a conversation, find Maya, anything but stand here watching him approach like he was the only person in the world. But she remained rooted to the spot, unable or unwilling to break their connection. When he finally reached her, they stood in silence for a heartbeat, city lights sparkling around them. "You came," she said finally. "Of course." His voice was low, intimate despite the crowd nearby. "It's important to you." A simple statement that revealed everything about how well he knew her, despite their conflicts, despite their distance. "The contract's over," she reminded him quietly. "You don't have to be here." "I know." His eyes held hers. "That's why I came." Confusion flickered through her. "I don't understand." "Can we talk?" he asked. "Somewhere private?" She hesitated, glancing at the party in full swing. "I can't just leave." 5 minutes. For once, it wasn't a command but a request. "Please." The unexpected plea decided her. She nodded toward a small office that opened onto the rooftop. "In there." As they crossed the space, she felt eyes tracking them, James Chen's curious gaze, Maya's concerned one, guests wondering about this unexpected development in the Blackwell-Monroe saga. Inside the office, Dominic closed the door, muting the party sounds. In the sudden quiet, tension crackled between them. "Congratulations," he said, gesturing toward the celebration outside. "You've done this entirely on your own." "Thank you," she replied, unsure where this was heading. He moved to the window, looking out at the skyline. "Do you remember what I said the night we terminated the contract?" "You said a lot of things." "I said we needed a clean break." He turned to face her. "I was wrong." The admission hung between them. Dominic Blackwell didn't admit being wrong. Not easily, not willingly. "Why?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Because there's nothing clean about what I feel for you." The rawness in his voice caught her off guard. Ending the contract was supposed to simplify things. It didn't. Ava's heart raced. "Dominic." "Let me finish," he interrupted, stepping closer. "I've spent my life making transactions. Business deals. Financial arrangements. Everything with clear terms and conditions." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of uncharacteristic uncertainty. "Then you happened," he continued. "And suddenly none of the usual rules applied." "What are you saying?" she asked, though part of her already knew. "I'm saying I love you." The words fell between them, simple and devastating. No contract. No cameras. No audience. Just you and me and the truth. Ava stared at him, unable to process the confession she'd both longed for and feared. "You can't just." "I can," he insisted. "And I am. I love you, Ava Monroe. I think I have since you walked into my office and told me my media strategy was outdated." Despite everything, a startled laugh escaped her. "You fired me 2 weeks later." "I was an idiot." The corner of his mouth lifted. "I'm trying not to be one now." He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, feel the warmth radiating from him. "I'm not asking you to say it back," he continued softly. "I'm not even asking for another chance, though God knows I want one. I'm just asking you to know the truth." Ava's carefully constructed defenses began crumbling. "Why now?" "Because I saw the announcement about your launch party and realized I couldn't stand the thought of you celebrating without me." "Selfish, probably." He smiled ruefully. "But I'm working on that." "And if I say no?" she whispered. "If I say I need my independence, my own life? Then I'll respect that." His eyes held hers, sincere despite the pain visible in them. "Say the word, and I'll walk away. For real this time." The choice crystallized before her, safety or risk, caution or courage, the clean break of never knowing or the messy joy of possibility. Outside, her successful launch party continued. James Chun waited with his appropriate gift and manageable emotions. A predictable future stretched ahead, successful, stable, secure. "I should tell you to leave," she said quietly. Dominic nodded once, jaw tight. "If that's what you want, it would be the smart choice." She stepped closer, close enough to see the flecks of amber in his dark eyes. "But I've never been very smart about you." Hope flickered across his features. "Meaning?" "Meaning I've spent 3 months pretending to love you in public while fighting it in private." Her voice softened. "I'm tired of fighting." His breath caught. "Ava. I'm not saying it's going to be easy," she warned. "You hurt me. Badly. And we started with a lie." "I know." His hands rose to frame her face, touch gentle as if she might break or flee. "But everything since has been real. More real than anything in my life." The sincerity in his voice, the vulnerability in his expression. This wasn't the calculated businessman or the practiced charmer. This was simply Dominic, stripped of pretense. "No more contracts," she whispered. "No more arrangements. Just us," he agreed. "However messy that might be." For a moment, they stood suspended between past and future, the weight of their complicated history balanced against the possibility of what might come. Then Ava made her choice. She rose on tiptoes and pressed her lips to his. A kiss with no audience, no cameras, no reason except the simple truth that she loved him too. Dominic responded instantly, arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her closer as if afraid she might change her mind. Unlike their first kiss during the storm, this one felt like coming home, to a place she hadn't known she was missing until now. When they finally broke apart, his forehead rested against hers, both breathing unevenly. "We should get back to your party," he murmured, though he made no move to release her. "In a minute," she replied, not ready to face reality quite yet. Outside the window, Manhattan glittered beneath a velvet sky, the same city where he'd publicly humiliated her months ago, where they'd built a facade of romance, where they now stood at the threshold of something genuine. "I love you," she whispered, the words slipping out before she could reconsider. Dominic's eyes widened, then softened with such naked emotion that her heart ached. "Say it again," he requested, voice rough. Ava smiled up at him. "Make me." His answering laugh was low and promising as he leaned down to capture her mouth once more. Through the glass door, Maya caught sight of them and quietly directed a waiter away from the office. James Chun followed her gaze, then turned back to his cocktail with a resigned shrug. Inside their momentary sanctuary, Ava and Dominic held each other, aware that outside waited reality. Explanations, complications, the hard work of building trust from wreckage. But for now, in this moment, there was only truth between them. Messy, inconvenient, wonderful truth that had somehow grown from the most calculated of arrangements. "Ready?" Dominic asked finally, reluctantly releasing her. Ava smoothed her dress, checked her lipstick in the reflection of her phone. "One last thing," she said, meeting his eyes. "If we do this, if we try for real, I need to know you won't shut me out when things get hard. No retreating behind money or power." "I promise," he said solemnly. "Full partnership. Equals." The words settled something inside her, not erasing the past, but offering a foundation for the future. She nodded once, then reached for the door. "Let's go face the music." His hand caught hers, fingers intertwining. "Together." "Together," she agreed, stepping back into the world. Chapter 10. "You're overthinking it," Maya said, adjusting Ava's necklace in the dressing room mirror. "I'm thinking the normal amount," Ava countered, smoothing her dress for the 5th time. "This is a big deal." Maya rolled her eyes. "It's dinner with his family, not a firing squad. His sister is a federal judge and his mother ran a Fortune 500 company. It kind of is a firing squad." 1 month since the launch party. 1 month of dating Dominic Blackwell for real. No contracts, no cameras, no pretending. Just them, figuring it out day by day. The adjustment hadn't been seamless. Old habits died hard. Dominic still occasionally retreated behind work when emotions ran high. Ava still sometimes expected the worst when conflict arose. But they were learning, communicating, building something authentic from the ashes of their arranged beginning. Tonight marked a milestone, dinner with Dominic's notoriously private family, who until now had only known Ava as the girlfriend from the tabloids. "You've faced down media crises and corporate sharks," Maya reminded her, applying a final touch of lipstick to Ava's nervous face. "You've got this. What if they hate me? Then you'll charm them anyway." Maya squeezed her shoulders. "Besides, the only opinion that matters is his, and that man is disgustingly in love with you." Warmth bloomed in Ava's chest at the truth of it. Against all odds, despite their complicated history, Dominic loved her, and showed it daily in ways that had nothing to do with his wealth. Morning coffee delivered to her desk with handwritten notes. Late-night conversations about books and dreams. The way he sought her opinion on business decisions, not as a PR expert but as a partner he respected. The doorbell rang, sending a flutter of nerves through her stomach. "That's him," she said unnecessarily. Maya shooed her toward the door. "Go get him, Tiger." Dominic stood in the hallway, casual in dark jeans and a charcoal sweater that made his eyes seem darker. Without his usual suit armor, he looked younger, more approachable, and still heartbreakingly handsome. His expression softened as he took her in. "You look beautiful." "I'm nervous," she admitted. "Don't be." He pulled her close, dropping a kiss on her forehead. "They already like you. They don't know me. They know you make me happy." His arms tightened around her. "That's enough for them." The simple statement settled something inside her. This was real, not a performance for cameras or contract fulfillment, but a man introducing the woman he loved to his family. In the car, Dominic laced his fingers through hers, thumb tracing absent patterns on her skin. "I have something for you," he said as they turned onto the parkway. Ava raised an eyebrow. "I thought we agreed no more lavish gifts." "It's not lavish." He reached into his pocket, producing a simple key on a silver ring. "It's practical." She took it, confused. "What's this for?" "My place." He kept his eyes on the road, but she caught the slight tension in his jaw. "For whenever you want it. No pressure." The gesture hit her squarely in the chest. Not a demand to move in, not a grand proclamation, just quiet certainty that she was welcome in his space, his life, whenever she was ready. "Thank you," she said softly, closing her fingers around the key. His answering smile was worth every difficult moment that had led them here. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Dinner with his family went surprisingly well. His mother, formidable but warm, asked thoughtful questions about Ava's business. His sister shared embarrassing stories from Dominic's childhood that made him groan and Ava laugh. By dessert, Ava had relaxed enough to join the good-natured teasing, earning an approving nod from Dominic's mother. "She keeps you on your toes," the older woman observed as they lingered over coffee in the living room. "You need that." Dominic's hand found Ava's, squeezing gently. "I know." Later, walking along the moonlit path in his mother's garden, Ava felt a profound sense of rightness, as if all the chaos and hurt had been necessary steps to reach this moment. "Your family is nothing like I expected," she admitted. Dominic raised an eyebrow. "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Intimidating corporate robots? People who say things like 'the help' unironically." He laughed, the sound warm in the cool night air. "We save that for public appearances. They're nice. They like you." He stopped beneath an oak tree, turning to face her. "My mother hasn't approved of anyone I've dated since college." "Is that why you're smiling like that?" "No." His expression grew serious, tender in a way that still made her breath catch. "I'm smiling because for the first time in my life, everything important is aligned. Work, family, you." The simple honesty of it washed over her. 6 months ago, she'd hated this man. 3 months ago, she'd been pretending to love him while fighting real feelings. And now, "Who would have thought," she murmured, "that your ridiculous fake relationship scheme would lead to this?" "I did." At her skeptical look, he amended, not consciously. "But I think part of me always hoped." He trailed off, suddenly looking uncharacteristically uncertain. Hoped what? She prompted. Instead of answering, Dominic reached into his pocket, then hesitated. This isn't how I planned it, he said, almost to himself. Planned what? He took a deep breath, then met her eyes with such intensity that she felt it like a physical touch. I had a whole evening arranged next week. Rooftop dinner, string quartet, the works. His lips curved into a self-deprecating smile. Very on brand. Dominic, what are you? The question died in her throat as he dropped to one knee on the garden path, a small velvet box in his hand. Oh my God, she whispered. I know it's fast, he said, voice unusually hesitant. Too fast, probably. But I've wasted enough time already, first fighting you, then pretending with you. He opened the box to reveal a ring. Not the ostentatious diamond she might have expected months ago, but a delicate vintage piece with a deep blue sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. He opened the box to reveal a ring. Not the ostentatious diamond she might have expected months ago, but a delicate vintage piece with a deep blue sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. It was my grandmother's, he explained, seeing her surprise. The only woman I knew who valued honesty above everything else. Moonlight caught the stones as Ava stared, speechless for perhaps the first time in her life. I had a whole speech prepared, Dominic continued, a slight tremor in his voice betraying his nerves. About second chances and fate and how sometimes the worst mistake leads to the best outcome. Dominic. But standing here now, he pressed on, all those words seem unnecessary. Because the truth is simple. He took her hand, his dark eyes holding hers. I love you, Ava Monroe. The real you, stubborn, brilliant, infuriating, compassionate. I love how you challenge me, how you see through me, how you make me better. Tears pricked at her eyes, blurring the moonlight. We started with a lie, he acknowledged. But I've never been more honest about anything than I am about wanting to spend my life with you. He paused, taking a shaky breath. Will you marry me? Time seemed suspended in the garden's stillness. Images flashed through Ava's mind. Dominic firing her in that cold conference room, his careful mask during their first dates, his vulnerable expression during the storm, the painting that reminded him of her eyes. A journey neither of them could have predicted. Ava. Uncertainty crept into his voice. I know it's. She dropped to her knees in front of him, ignoring the damp garden path, bringing herself to his level. You, she said, cupping his face in her hands, are an idiot. His expression faltered. Is that a no? It's a you didn't need the rooftop or the string quartet or the speech. She laughed through her tears. It's a you ruined my life and somehow became it instead. Understanding dawned in his eyes, hope replacing uncertainty. So, yes? He asked, still seeking confirmation. Instead of answering, Ava dragged him forward by his sweater, kissing him breathless beneath the oak tree. A kiss that contained their complicated past and promised a future neither had dared imagine 6 months ago. When they finally broke apart, she pressed her forehead to his, smiling. Yes, you idiot, she whispered. Yes. His answering smile was brighter than she'd ever seen as he slid the ring onto her finger with slightly shaking hands. It fit perfectly, another small miracle in a relationship built from impossibilities. My mother will be smug, he murmured, helping her to her feet. She told me to bring the ring tonight. Smart woman, Ava replied, admiring how the sapphire caught the moonlight. Runs in the family, apparently. Dominic pulled her close, his arms warm around her waist. Not smart enough to avoid blaming the best thing in my life for a scandal she had nothing to do with. Water under the bridge, she assured him, though they both knew the path to forgiveness hadn't been simple or straight. I'm going to spend my life making that up to you, he promised, pressing a kiss to her temple. I'm counting on it. She smiled up at him. Starting with explaining to my sister why I'm marrying the man she once heard me call Satan in a Seville Row suit. He laughed, the sound rumbling through his chest against her. I've been called worse. Not by someone who ended up loving you anyway. His expression softened at her words. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she agreed lightly. But you're stuck with me now. As they walked back toward the house where his family waited, ring gleaming on her finger, Ava marveled at life's strange twists. 6 months ago, Dominic Blackwell had tried to ruin her life. Now he was her life. Unexpected, complicated, real. They would fight sometimes. His stubbornness would clash with her independence. The ghosts of their beginning would occasionally resurface. But they would face it together. No contracts, no pretending, no audience but each other. What are you thinking? Dominic asked, noticing her contemplative smile. Ava squeezed his hand, feeling the solid warmth of him beside her. This man who had been her nightmare and became her dream. I'm thinking, she said softly, that he's still the man who ruined my life. But now he's ruining my lipstick, and I can live with that. Dominic's laughter echoed through the moonlit garden as he pulled her close for another kiss, proving her point completely. And Ava Monroe, who had once walked away from Dominic Blackwell with her career in tatters, now walked toward a future with him. Her heart full, her lipstick hopeless, and her life gloriously, unexpectedly perfect. The end. Kindly leave a comment at the end to share your thoughts on the story. Thank you.